After completing more than 18 million waves in Crow Castle, I felt the time was ripe for a fresh start, which is why my New Year's resolve became to start a new completely free-to-play account and play it for 30 days. The goals that I set for myself for this journey were to first, complete all colonies in Crow Castle, second, get at least 100,000 waves done, and third, get started with legendary dragon farming and get at least a couple of juicy items for my heroes. Now buckle up, because we are about to ride through the tales of
Cloud Nacho.
I started this account on January 1st, 2026, is what I would like to say, but for some reason on that day I suffered from an unexpected severe case of hangover, so instead the journey of Cloud Nacho started on January the 2nd. I want to go for the lightning and town nacho setup following my earlier guides, so the first goal for me became to unlock all town nachos and recruiting the hero Hunter in order to give boost to my town nachos. My brave Cloud Nacho suffered through the first waves of manual gameplay, recruiting first Zeus and then Thor on the way to help us clear out the enemies, and for the skill tree I went for the lightning skill tree path in order to give us the smoothest and the easiest time with this setup. And finally, after a bit more than 50 waves, the option to use auto battle became available, so after that point life became all rainbows and sunshine and I did not have to do manual waves again. So at this point I started doing auto battle and I never did a manual wave again, and hopefully I never will. Team auto battle all the way, baby! So I kept on auto battling, slowly building my setup towards the early game gold build according to my earlier gold build video, and after reaching 827 waves exactly, I purchased the Devil Horn treasure and started using the first level of that treasure. I also set up a separate deck for colonies, focused on especially the first world of colonies, and started to work my way slowly through those, while still keeping the main focus on waving, because whenever I was auto battling, I could always just Netflix and chill. Now with this, Cloud Nacho heroically rocked the gold build until around 1200 waves, at which point making profit with the gold auto battle became a little bit risky, so for convenience sake, at that point I thought it was time to switch using the free auto battle build using the worthless coin treasure. And so at the end of the eventful day number 1, the account was about 1400 waves in with the first colony world completed up to around 8000 defense. Now with this, it was time to leave the game running on auto battle and take a good night's rest. In the morning I woke up to some 3000 waves completed and around 600 million gold at my disposal, and by the way, I never worried about wasting crystals by capping them overnight, because even though that happened, I would still be gaining more than enough of those anyway. After leveling my units with the gold that I had, I first went to clear out whatever I could in the second colony world in order to gain small buffs for my town archers, and after doing that I went and completely cleared out the first world of colonies. So with this, on the day number 2, I had the first world colonies completed, so 1 out of 3 worlds completed, and I was on the right track with my progress. After this, Cloud Nacho requested small changes to be made to the colony build, so I adjusted it to be a little bit more defensive heavy, so that we could tackle more of the Hell colonies and the Orc colonies as well. And now with this, I was quite busy for the rest of the day, so I just mainly let the game run on auto battle until the end of the day and again overnight. In the morning of day number 3, I was a little short on 7000 waves total completed, and at this point I finally purchased and leveled up the Cursed Knife treasure and started using it in my wave build instead of the flame bow. The knife is strong, but it's rather expensive to level up early on after all. Now again, with the gold gained overnight, mainly thanks to completing the first world of colonies, I went on and tackled the second world of colonies, the Hell world colonies, and I again completely annihilated every single colony in there. So I completely completed the second world of colonies as well. And with this, I only had 1 colony world left from my goal, which would be the Orc colonies, but that would still take quite a bit longer to fully complete. At this point, fighting Sin was also very much possible and easy enough to do so, but I felt it was still a little bit too slow for my taste, so I decided to wait a little bit longer and wait until I started to hunt for the basic gear for my units. I never touched the lesser dragons at all because items are not really required early on, and I figured out it's not worth my time and I spent that on waving instead. Cloud Nacho was definitely gaining some momentum, but I felt like we could still, even if only temporarily, boost up the pace a little bit. So at this point, as an experiment, I switched to using the second level of Devil Horn, the Devil Horn 2, in order to gain more waves. And with this, by the morning of day number 4, the account had done 11,500-ish waves with Devil Horn 2 running. I do want to emphasize that running the higher level Devil Horns will not be sustainable for a very long time in your early game. Running those require crude items and a lot of skill points, and you have access to neither of those really in your early game. So you will probably be able to do it for a while, but chances are that you will soon enough be forced to drop back into the Devil Horn 1, as you will also see Cloud Nacho doing shortly. Also, since I was now over 10,000 waves in, I could also purchase the old statue in town and start leveling my pure wizard towards level 10,000 using crystals. From this point onwards, I would also daily do whatever infinite colonies I could using the +5 skip function in the infinite colonies, using the same build that I used to clear out the second world of colonies. I would later on adjust the build to be a better infinite colony build, but that would need to wait until I really get some items for my heroes. During the day number 4, I was also able to craft my first L tier accessory, which luckily turned out to be a pretty nice one. At this point I placed it on Thor, but the cooldown line would also made it useful for Pure Wizard or someone else as well. Waking up to day 5, Cloud Nacho was still running Devil Horn 2 with around 18,000 waves completed, and I decided to take time to properly go and bully Sin into giving me some basic gear. And I would hunt him to make his defense to be plus 1000 at this point, which means in total I killed him 200 times. And on the next day I continued with the same routine, clearing waves and beating Sin into submission, so life was good and the future seemed bright. But then comes the morning of day number 7. When I woke up, I was greeted with a grim sight. The game had crashed overnight and I had lost 7 hours of wave time. After crying in the corner for some time, I gathered myself and kept on going towards day number 8. Surely the worst was past me by now. Or so I thought. In the morning of day number 8, I was greeted with a yet even more grim sight. My build had suffered triple defeat overnight and had stopped waving, and I lost another 7 hours of wave time, setting my goals back quite a bit. However, I was still over 30,000 waves in, and that just meant that using Devil Horn 2 would be risky from this point onwards, especially if I could not monitor the game. So what I would do is I would try to run Devil Horn 2 whenever I was close to the game and could actually monitor it and see if it goes down, and whenever I wasn't, especially overnight, I would switch to Devil Horn 1 to be safe and be able to clear out waves throughout the entire night. On day 8, I also reached plus 2000 defense on Sin, and I decided at this point that he is no longer worth my time, and I would set my sight on the soon to come legendary dragon farming. So it was time to keep on waving again, and by day number 10 I had done 43,000 waves, and at this point I was actually able to get my first kill against the legendary dragon, but it was way too risky and slow to even consider farming him. I want my dragon farming like I want my coffee. Steaming hot and without milk. That didn't really work, did it? I want them fast, okay? And without milk. Anyway, it was time to keep on doing more waves and more colonies. The morning of day number 12 was great. Little Nacho finally reached 50,000 waves, which meant I was halfway through my goal of reaching at least 100,000 waves. So, despite small setbacks, things were rolling quite nicely, and at this point I was also able to craft a bunch of L tier items with the dust I have been saving for the past couple of days. And I was able to get quite nice items, despite not all of them being really that great. At this point I also set up a more proper infinite colony build according to my previous infinite colony build video guide, and started to do the rest of the orc colonies and the infinite colony with that. I still had a couple of orc colonies left to complete, but I didn't really worry about those because I would be soon enough to able to complete all of them, as I just kept on waving and leveling my units a little bit. So at this point I would just keep doing also infinite colony, and I was able to reach level 150 on my infinite colony, which meant at this point a ratio of 3. The next step, you guessed it, more waving. As day number 15 arrived and my dear baby Cloud Nacho turned to be 2 weeks old, I was finally able to save up enough orange crystals so that I could purchase and start using the Uni-Guild building. Also, I was finally able to get my Pure Wizard to be level 10,000, and that meant I could purchase the damage skill level orb for him and start to use that in my build. This orb gives a small plus 2.5% damage boost for every unit in my build, so it's essentially free damage. And boy, I do like me some free damage. The next day brought even more boost from my setup as I was able to get my Town Archers to level 10,000 and purchase the Orb of Power for them. I did not have enough skill points to reach Town Archer section for my Way build, so I wasn't able to utilize the orb in there, but it became a great asset in my colony build and in my dragon hunting build. This also meant that killing the Legend Dragon was finally starting to be tolerably fast, so that I could start hunting him for some more gear for my units. At this point the kill time seemed to be around 20 seconds with the 2x game speed and the Altar of Death in my build. At this point in my colony build I also switched my Town Archers and started using the Town Cannons instead, as they finally seemed to bring me better results. Everyone should do the test for themselves at which point they become better than using the Town Archers. Early game the Town Archers are better, but the Cannons will at some point overtake them. The next few days went by without any major events. Nacho Man kept on waving and also doing a little bit of colonies every day, usually in the morning after I woke up. I was basically using the Devil Horn 1 mainly at this point, slowly trying to get better gear in order to stabilize my Devil Horn 2. So at this point things just went on and on and on and on and on until day number 24 came, and boy was that a big one for me and Lil Nacho. At this point I finally reached 100,000 waves on this account, so yes, another goal completed. With this I had completed 2 of the initial goals by clearing all colony worlds and reaching at least 100,000 waves. But that did not mean that it was time to stop waving. No, not at all. It was time to keep on going while mainly focusing on the last object, which was hunting the Legend Dragon for some sweet gear for my heroes. So that's exactly what I kept on doing, which led to me having a plus 10,000 defense on the Legend Dragon during the day number 27, which I would call a decently successful hunt. The journey would soon be coming to an end, but before officially wrapping things up, me and Cloud Nacho planned an expedition and went to do a little bit of dungeon hunting on the day number 29. So this means doing the beginner dungeon for a couple of thousand defense in order to mainly hunt for the damage skill level and the hero damage skill level +1 runes, which I would place on my items on my Pure Wizard and my Necromancer. These would also, similar to the damage skill level +1 orb, give small boosts for my entire build, so again that means free damage, and I do like some free damage. In the Infinite Colony I also started to do the +10 skips instead of the +5 skips, and I also have a goal that eventually I will just be doing the +20 skips for the Infinite Colony in order to just, speed up the progress of leveling the Infinite Colony even further. And finally, as all good things, this journey also needs to come to an end. So on day number 30 it was the final day, and the results of this journey were as follows. Cloud Nacho was just short of 125,000 waves completed and would ultimately reach this point before I went to bed on day number 30. I had also done a total of +14,000 defense on the Legend Dragon, and yes, I was able to get a couple of juicy items for my heroes, which marked the completion of my 3rd goal, and meaning I was able to complete every single goal for this journey. My Infinite Colony reached level 660, which at this point meant around 5.2x ratio, and I was really completely satisfied with that at this point, and I would plan on also just keep on increasing that in the future. The more items I get, the more skill points that I get, everything will just make the build stronger, and I will keep on increasing that Infinite Colony ratio. What a journey, huh? What did you think? I would love to hear about your journey as well, so feel free to share your own story in the comment section. I would love to read that. I will keep on waving on this account, so chances are we will see Cloud Nacho on this channel in the future as well. But with this, Laku and Nacho, over and out.